Okay, the sound effects. We get it, guys. See, this one, a two-shot of the Wolves. Thank you. As the leader of the show, I'm doing the show in protest because Brew and Nick have taken over and decided to bring taxidermy wolves, which I don't even think is appropriate to put on television. They're an endangered species and a precious animal in our national ecosystem. It's the first things first. I'm actually flustered. You and me both, Michael. I've never even been to Denver.
Gentlemanly of Michael Malone. Cursing at work?
This is my bit. This is my bit.
Cheers, friend.
Get out of here. Why are you in a tuxedo? This is my bit.
Well, once the
Where's Brew with his stupid sandwich?
Well, I don't know if it's Brew. Where is Brew? Oh, he's not being a gentleman today.
This is not. You at least picked it. You picked it correct.
Wildes.
I have real analysis. I have a full screen. Yes, Brew, you were correct.
That if Denver had won, you would have been a gentleman.
True.
You would not have preened. You would not have gloated. You would not have rubbed it in my face because you are a gentleman. But I must say, I'm not. I'm just an old school boy from the Midwest. So I must speak my truth.
Okay.
Wildes, Bruised T-Wolves.
I know. Yeah.
Went into Denver's house.
What did they do?
Kicked up their feet.
I know.
3 times, Brew, they did it.
Yes.
Did they have
And they said,
food?
Nicola, get me a sandwich. Jamal, I want some chips.
Okay, and
And Michael Malone, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, whoever it is, go fetch me a soda pop.
That's what happened.
That's how it
that is
what happened.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And exactly what I said would happen. It took guts to predict them winning in 7
You did
in
call
Denver's
it.
house.
You did call it perfect.
Not only, Brew, did you call it, but your accurate, bold prediction, not just picking Minnesota to win, but picking the exact series, picking them to win a Game 7 on the road in that unfair altitude that they seem to have little issue with.
Yeah. What happened to the altitude?
I don't know.
The altitude didn't show.
I have
Denver was tired.
the video of Kevin Wildes' reaction to your prediction in real time. Can we show that video? Because it was not very gentlemanly of one Kevin Wildes. Can we roll that, please, Dusty?
Timberwolves in 7. That's right.
7.
Going to Denver, winning Game 7. I know I'm
Look at that.
That was out of character.
Now,
not very gentlemanly.
That was out of character.
Brew, but I do think you, even though you have your feet on the table, are quite the gentleman. And today is a gentlemanly day if you want to let Kevin Wildes know.
You know, Wildes, sometimes, even though I may not be a gentleman, I like doing gentlemanly things.
That's right. He's also got his tuxedo.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Drink.
Oh, yes, Brew.
You guys do look great.
I do have
Drink.
Brew,
Is the mic still on?
Yeah, your mic's still on.
Yeah,
I figure you like the maraschino cherries. I know you like sweet things.
Yes.
And nothing is sweeter than this, Wildes.
Fantastic. You guys are really good.
Thank you. And we will get to cheers, my friend.
Cheers, brother.
The actual analysis in just a moment. But first.
Yeah. I'm ready for the analysis.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, first we have
6
to go
minutes in.
through what got us here, which was, guys, I don't know what our banner budget's going to be for football. Drop them all. Because it's all just the same thing. It is every single time Kevin Wildes tweeted. One didn't even drop. Maybe it will at some point. Those are all Wildes tweets. that no one is beating. Oh, there it is.
Original
Denver,
tweets.
all his original tweets. There even was a video that we couldn't put on there, so we'll bring that out in different form, however we can.
What discipline marketing I have, though.
No one's beating
Locked
Denver in a 7-game series is what you said. In fact, you even, you made it really your slogan of the year. This was the video you made. And so here's my question, Brew. I said the Chiefs were going to go 20-0 and they lost their first game of the year. You famously were a Nets Clippers fan at one point in time. But none of us were as pot committed as this guy. And none of those predictions, Wildes, went down in the flames of up 3-2.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Defending champs. Get 50-pieced in a game 6.
But that I kind of threw away.
And then
it's like, game 6.
the biggest blowout, the biggest blown lead in game 7
Some
history.
people are calling it a great comeback.
Well, I would call it a historic
Not necessarily
collapse.
a collapse.
But we've had our fun at your expense. You go right ahead.
What happened?
Here's some real analysis if you're looking to the clown for that. Final 22 minutes last night. This was a little bit rough. Minnesota had 60 points, Brew. Denver had 32. 26 rebounds to 12 was not good. They shot over 50%. Hit 3 threes. Joker had 21 points, and the rest of the team had 11. And I know Michael Malone is saying, Joker and Jamal Murray did all they could. I don't know what size a piece of the blame pie I want to give to the bench, because I don't think it's the bench's job to win Game 7. The bench had 5 points. Like, is it Aaron Gordon's job to win Game 7? I don't think so. I think it's the coach's job. I think it's the superstar's job to get those guys involved. So I'm not going to blame Michael Porter Jr. for missing threes after he was on fire during the Lakers series. So I'm putting the blame at the superstar's feet.
Jokic had, 34, 19, and 7? Jamal Murray had 35?
If it was LeBron,
they can't score much more than
I'm
that.
also the mayor of fair. If it was LeBron, we would blame LeBron. When it was Kevin Durant, we'd blame Kevin Durant. If it was Steph, it would be Steph.
If any of those guys were up 3-2 in a series where they were the favorite
and up 20
and get annihilated in Game 6, and then have a 20-point second-half Game 7 lead. And by the way, I think Joker was good in this game. I don't think
he was fine.
Right, but I think 2 things happened, Brew. One is, I think there were signs about the Nuggets. I think that Spurs loss that now all of a sudden folks cared about, but we talked about on the show, were signs. I think the bench was a weakness all year, and I talked about it.
I hate to say it, classic 2.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Bruce Brown. I'm like, Bruce Brown's not going to decide the series. And I was like, man, it would be nice to have Bruce Brown out there.
What you saw, I think, and I know we'll talk more about the Timberwolves side in a minute, but this Timberwolves team was never scared. And that their defense, they felt, was going to keep them in the game. And the Nuggets, the moment it was close, it felt to me like the Nuggets lost their composure. And that the Timberwolves had full control of the game.
Well, that late run, after the Nuggets were up 20, and then it was like a 28-9 run by the Timberwolves, that had to rock Denver's world. Like, you could see after that point. And once Minnesota took the lead early in the fourth quarter, they never trailed again. It was tied like once or twice, but they never trailed again. Mentally, that had to completely destroy Denver. Like, we had these guys by 20. Now, I will say this. A 20-point lead in today's NBA is not like, it's about the equivalent of a 10-point lead 20 years ago. It really is. We see it happen all the time. Lakers were up 20. I know it was the first half, but nobody thought that game was over. Denver just walked them down. With the three-point shooting, the huge leads disappear now all the time. But I think Minnesota won for 2. I don't think it was just a collapse. I think it was a great comeback, because I think Minnesota's depth and their defense is what got it done. And their defense locked up, and that's why they weren't scared, Nick. They play these guys all the time, same division. Last year, they felt like they could have played with them had they been healthy with Jaden McDaniels and Karl Anthony Towns. They didn't have those guys for the whole series, and they lost. So I think their defense and then their depth, they had 6 guys score in average double figures in this series. Denver only had 4. So I think the depth came back to support Minnesota and bite Denver.
And listen, I don't want to, because you were saying we would blame, if it were any other superstar, they'd be getting flayed today. I think Jokic played well yesterday. I don't think he was great. I thought he played well. I thought Jamal Murray played awesome for a quarter and a half.
Yeah.
And was either not good in the second half and not good at the very start of the game. Like mid first quarter to the end of the second quarter, he was excellent.
Right.
But here is what I will say in regards to Jokic. Because so much of my Jokic frustration has been, it seems like everyone else wants to skip 2 steps ahead. When he had yet to go on a great playoff run, he was already a back-to-back MVP. When he had yet to be in the finals, people were talking about him winning 3 straight MVPs. When he had won 1 title, we were talking dynasty, inevitability, and about this being the Jokic era.
Yeah, they look good.
And this is...
And in fairness, though, you could say just about all of that about Giannis, too.
But so that's the exact point I wanted to make. Because Jokic, Giannis, if we put them next to each other, it is a dead heat. The playoff win-loss record, I didn't realize, was almost identical. The conference finals appearances, identical. Finals appearances, identical. All of that. Now, Jokic has 3 MVPs. Giannis has 2, but he has 1 Defensive Player of the Year. So that's 3-3. And Giannis has more outstanding seasons now. He's been in the league a year longer. And so the point I'm making is, I think that right now, we were talking, are the Nuggets going to be a dynasty? And I think a year from now, we might be discussing, is Jokic definitively the best guy of his own era? Because I don't know that that's true. I think Giannis is right there with him historically, and we'll see if Luka, what he does over these next month, and if it becomes a 3-horse race.
Yeah, I mean, look, and let's see what Wembanyama ends up doing.
Well,
I mean,
sure,
they're all relatively young. SGA is there. Anthony Edwards, So I think we got a long way to go before we start talking about whose era it is.
But you didn't think people were saying this was Jokic's era right now, that was being discussed?
Yeah.
That they
People
were
thought it might be a dynasty. What we're in is an incredible era of parity. Now, let's see. This will be our 6th champion in the past 6 years. No champion in these 6 years has even gotten past the second round after they won their championship. So I think we have to see and let this thing play out before we start, really nailing where they are historically.
All right, before we move on to the Wolves, I just want to show you one play. This is down 5 in the waning seconds of the game. This is Cat's putback. Brew, or I'll ask you, Nick, do you think, if we look at the other angle of this, where Cat just runs in and dunks the ball as 3 guys stand and look at it, and then Naz Reid had an earlier one where, like, Jamal, I don't know if it's Jamal Murray's job to box out.
No, the Naz Reid one was Joker missed the box out. Right. We can show that, too.
Do you think there is an element of just fatigue or lack of want to? I mean, it's Game 7. Joker never came out. They played a lot of minutes the whole year, obviously, like a deep play. They won the championship last year, all that. So does that show up in little moments, or is it just kind of a narrative?
So I think 2 things. One is, I think Joker did look gassed, understandably. Playing, he's playing heavy minutes the whole series. Michael Malone made the strategic choice of not giving him his regular rest at the beginning of the second quarter, because I think he thought we can really step on their throat, which they did.
I think that's the right call.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm not killing him for it, but it was clearly a choice, and there's a trade-off for that, because most guys can't go all out effort on both ends for 48 minutes. That's why guys don't do it. So I think Joker was a little gassed. I think the other Nuggets were shook. And I think that, and this is where you might disagree, I think they showed their coach and their second best player both showed front runner tendencies. And I think that last playoff run, they were so good, they, to their credit, never faced real adversity. This year, the first time they faced it, Jamal Murray is throwing stuff at the refs, and Michael Malone is freaking out. in game 2 on the refs. And then when they lose, a totally banal, legitimate question is asked to Michael Malone, and he dresses down the reporter unnecessarily. That, to me, is, guys, we talk about composure and things like that.
I mean, they did win 3 in a row.
I understand that.
I thought they showed heart in coming back and making this a series.
See, I thought they won. Here's what I thought about those 3 in a row. Game 4, it felt to me like or game 3, pardon me, the Timberwolves understandably kind of, relaxed a bit.
Sure.
And games 4 and 5 were about Joker's individual brilliance taking over. He was so excellent in those games. I thought Michael Malone and Jamal Murray, it looked shaky. You know what I mean? As far as how they handled real adversity in this series. I think that's a fair critique, Brew.
Look, I think, and we'll get to this in a moment, the better team won.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I'll give, I know we're going to talk about that next, but yeah, I think they're just better.
All right, to the victors. Brew, how about your Wolves?
Well, look, obviously everybody's talking about Michael Jordan and Anthony Edwards. I actually think he's more like Dwayne Wade with a jump shot. But the comparisons to Jordan, to me, one, as he said, he plays both ends of the floor, and you saw it yesterday, all right? The second thing I love about Anthony Edwards, he plays in the system. Like, he was 6 for 24. And when you watch them throughout this series, everybody else is touching the ball. Everybody else feels free to shoot. Their system is not Anthony Edwards. All right, and I think that makes it easier for your team to conform around you and can make you a better team. Now, I just think, like I said, Minnesota's better. Look, they won 3 of the 4 games in Denver. Okay, they won one of the games by 45 points. All right, and then they come back from a 20-point deficit in the second half in Denver again. All of those things speak to them being the better team. And then look at this graphic we have right here. They outdid Denver in everything.
Pretty good.
This is the 7 games. More points, shot better from the floor, made more free throws, more rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, fewer turnovers. And, of course, within that is ass stocks. All right, so all of that. I mean, they dominated this series as much as you could dominate a 7-game series. Yeah,
sorry, I'm doing the math.
It will work.
Well, no, it's by a lot. It's 261 to 241, I think. Wow. A plus 20 in ass stocks.
And ass stocks is huge.
I mean, it is huge.
Series right there.
But
it really is.
And the depth, this is where we were talking about the depth. Their best player goes 6 for 24.
Yeah.
And they still are able to win.
That's a good point.
So that speaks to their depth and their defense.
All right, so Anthony, the 6 for 24 is, of course, a famous stat line because in one of the other biggest Game 7 comebacks ever, the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2010 finals against the Boston Celtics, Kobe Bryant went 6 for 24 and found a way to impact the game through rebounding and this is also why sports are kind of, funny. Funny's the wrong word, but unique in that if Kobe's teammates in that game, if Ron Artest doesn't hit that shot, if Karl Anthony Towns doesn't make the plays he made in this game, then we look at the 6 for 24s by the Stars differently because they won. We can talk about the good things they did. But I want to talk about 2 guys on the Timberwolves that I have criticized heavily throughout their careers. Because unlike maybe some members of the new media that are very entrenched in old-held grudges and will not move even if the evidence suggests they should, Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns deserve some respect for what they've done in this series. Rudy Gobert, his on-off impact for the Wolves this postseason is more dramatic, literally, than any other player in the league. Yes, it is true. He cannot guard Nikola Jokic one-on-one. But that's also not really what he's there for, and no one can. Nobody in the league currently can. And people are like, the Defensive Player of the Year. When Dikembe Mutombo won Defensive Player of the Year, Shaq put up 35 and 20 every night in the finals. When Draymond won Defensive Player of the Year, he had his teammate guard LeBron James in the finals because he was best used elsewhere. Rudy was great. And Rudy, even at halftime of this game, folks on the broadcast were talking about benching him. Rudy kept his composure and kept a steady hand and impact. And I have been a significant Rudy Gobert critic. But why play the games if guys can't change? You can't change your opinion of guys based on how they play. And Karl Anthony Towns, I always thought, good stats, bad team guy. When he got hurt this year, I was like, I don't really know how much it's going to hurt them. He kept them connected in the first half. He hit a 3 when they were down 15 at one point to cut it to 12 when it looked like Denver was going to blow it open. Every time Jokic did the thing Brew always wants him to do, which is I'm not going to mimic it. No. But Karl-Anthony Towns is strong enough to at least stop, you know what I mean, hold his ground. And he was excellent. Look, I think those two guys just deserve massive credit because I've criticized them, but this is the crowning moment so far of their career.
Towns, I think the issue with Jimmy Butler when he clearly thought Towns was soft, I think that hurt his reputation. Remember, we had to go back and forth with Embiid for a while, who's obviously a bit better than Towns. I thought all of those things sullied his reputation, but this dude can play. Now, like I said, I think he's got a #1 game. He's 23-11 on almost 40% shooting from 3 for his career. But I think he is a #2 because of his demeanor, maybe personality, whatever it is. And now you got Anthony Edwards there as the #1, but a guy who also loves him. Like big ups him, always talking about how good he is and gets him that confidence. It's a perfect tandem, those two.
Can I give you one final thing before we go?
Yeah, please.
The Wolves also have a little bit of stick-it-to-you-ness that I don't know if Denver had. And this is the play that I had Dusty pull. Dusty, the Jaden McDaniels trying to dunk at the end of the game.
This was wild.
This is just, and Edwards was doing stuff the whole game, the whole series. It's just a little bit of chip on their shoulder, grudge, edge. And it's not necessarily the heart of a champion that we said Denver had. This is like, we're coming for you. And it's the game is over. I still want to let you know. And it's a little bit extra, and
it's a little bit you take on
how it'll go to the
Well, you got to win when you do that. You got to keep winning.
You take on the personality of your best player sometimes.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards is almost young enough to not really care about the unwritten rules, and he's got a lot of bleep you to him, and to his credit, one thing else, and I know we got to go, he is not a front runner. He is talking when they're losing. He is confident, and so I respect it. And I think we're going to get, the trash talk in multiple languages we're about to get in the Western Conference Finals. Oh, my goodness gracious.
I do like us tickling the ivories a little bit on the way out.
You're feeling better.
You're not a gentleman.
Well, you know,
you're feeling better.
I appreciate being surrounded by fellow gentlemen. Cheers. You guys weren't too bad on me.
Well, those live forever.
First things first.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.